we got news that actually I don't know if we have this article pulled up, but we should talk about it. We've got news right now. 10 senators, Republicans, have agreed with Democrats on gun control. And so I remember, Luke was telling me this. He was like, yeah, 10, this was the other day. He's like, 10 Republican senators are cutting a deal with Democrats for gun control. And I was like, no, that can't be right. That puts them over the filibuster. They're going to get that passed. Turns out it's true. So why is it that you never have the inversion of that story? Where are the 10 Democrats to side with Republicans on gun access? Never happens. And so what you see is the narrative is always skewing in the direction of the Democratic establishment and what progressives want.
Or just eliminating people's rights.
Right.
It's because the media is manipulating people and it's controlled by forces outside the United States.
Well, so the point I was trying to get to with Bill, you mentioned algorithms, is that the first iteration of narrative control is mainstream media, New York Times. They're losing that. What's happening now is big tech is just, well, all they got to do is this. If you've got 50 conservatives and 50 Democrats, ban one conservative, and now it's a lopsided match. You got, let's say it's 5-on-5 basketball. You ban one conservative and it's 5v4. Who's likely going to win?
Oh, without a doubt, the 5 people.
And that's basically what's happening.
I think with social media, you're 100% right. Like watching the way conservatives get banned. I don't know if there was shadow banning back in the day when I was like super progressive and woke, but I was straight threatening to fight senators every day and just like getting followers, getting verified. And now my like tiny Instagram is shadow banned, and I don't even post conservative stuff, but I have famous followers who are like anti-vax or whatever, and I'm certainly shadow banned on.
But you're
Twitter.
you're anti-authoritarian, I would assume.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh
no, I'm here to pitch my pro-authoritarian platform and promote my comedy dates at the House of Comedy next week in Dallas.
But like meaning that they punish right and left,
right?
That are anti-authoritarian.
Right. But the only thing I was going to say with you, the only thing I kind of disagree with what you said about I remember back in the day, the amount of bills that were mostly like anti-corporation, whatever, that the Democrats would. Some of them would pass, but all the centrists, like Max Baucus types, would C-block it, and Republicans would come over, whatever. I think the reason in this case with guns is the Democrats don't have much backbone, right? Like, they're wishy-washy on everything. They sell out everything, but I feel like guns and abortion are like their two things where there's not going to be compromise on that, or else it's like, just go be a Republican.
But I do mean in more modern history.
So, like under the Biden administration, I agree with you.
Yeah, with Trump, it was the populist insurgency in 2016. Bernie loses, Trump wins.
Yeah.
Bernie failed at storming the gates of the Democratic Party. Trump succeeded at storming the gates of Republicans. So now you get people like Bill Kristol. You get these neocons, the Lincoln Project types, who are effectively Democrats.
Right.
But it's because...
I am not happy about.
The Uniparty coalesced around what the Democrats are. Since then, what have we seen? So we get a Donald Trump presidency in beginning of 2017. Yeah. You've got Republicans controlling Congress. They do nothing. Yes. In fact, they agreed with the Russiagate investigations and moved forward saying, well, we got to be reasonable.
So crazy.
So since then...
Liz Cheney, our progressive hero.
So I think it was Michael Malice who brought this up. Where is the argument from the right about repealing the NFA or guaranteeing gun access? It's always a compromise on giving away our rights.
I think NFA, people need some education. I thought the NFA was an entity. It's a national. It's just an act that you can repeal.
It's the bill.
Yeah. It sounds too much like NSA. People think, oh, I'm not getting rid of an entire department. No, the NFA has to stay. We need the National Firearms Department.
ATF.
Yeah, ATF. They think NFA is ATF, but NFA is an act that basically makes a lot of weapons. Now, refresh me. Tell me exactly what it is.
So you know how they banned pot the first time? Mm-hmm. You needed a tax stamp. So they were like, well, we can't ban it. Let's make it so you need a tax stamp to buy it, and then we'll stop issuing tax stamps. The National Firearms Act was basically like certain weapons can be classified, requiring you to get special forms and pay a special tax. At the time, it was the equivalent of $3,000. Today, it's $200. It's never gone up. But you got to get an ATF background check, an FBI background check. You got to get fingerprinted at your local police station or sheriff's office. It takes upwards of 6 months, maybe a year, to be able to get one of these items. So they didn't ban them. That would violate the Constitution. They just made it prohibitively expensive and time-consuming to get.
I keep thinking like we're in unprecedented times with this inflation, with this technology, with the connectedness of the world. But at the same time, I keep thinking of 1928 and like right before the Depression, or are we in the midst of the beginning of the Great Depression? repression times 2, and like Nazi Germany when they started slowly taking away gun rights. Then all of a sudden the Reichstag caught fire, the parliamentary building, and Hitler blamed the communists and then just took everyone's rights away and then stripped everybody.
With the Enabling Act, which a lot of people compared to the Patriot Act.
Yes. And people have even said that Hitler started that fire as a false flag and then blamed the communists just to seize power. So we need to be... This is like that shooting in Texas, and I'm saying specifically, I'm not saying anything about that being a false flag or anything. I don't think it was, but
Lydia just perked up.
for people to use tragedy as an excuse to seize our guns is insane, or our right to guns. That's what I'm talking about. Not the guns themselves. It's the right to own the gun.
This is something that I've been talking about since 2001 in New York City, is that whenever you give up your rights during emergencies, governments will make up emergencies so they could take away your rights. And I think that's an important perspective to understand here, because we have allowed the government a lot, especially within the last 2.5 years, and they have essentially weaponized the intelligence agencies. They have weaponized the CDC, the FDA for their own personal benefit. They have become more and more political, and now that same government that, of course, has been locking you down, arresting people for not wearing a mask, arresting people for having a business open, are telling you that we need to protect you by taking away your ability to defend
This
yourself.
is so...
Real quick, I want to add. I've woken people up. I'll put it that way. I guess I could say red pilled by telling people, red flag laws. This is what they're passing. Yo, this is stop and frisk on steroids. Yeah. You know, stop and frisk, Jamie.
I was against it.
Yeah. I'm against it.
Same.
The idea. So, it's called the Terry stop. The idea is that a cop can walk up to any person for any reason. Well, not necessarily any reason, but probable cause, which can basically be any reason.
Which is they don't look like all of us, was essentially what they were doing.
So let me get into that, because it's crazy. So the idea is, there's gun crime. So you go to a neighborhood, you see someone you think is suspicious, you stop them, you frisk them. You can't put your hands in their pockets. If you feel something, you can take it out. If it feels like drugs, if it feels like a weapon. And so all of a sudden, you get these reports that young black and Latino men are being stopped by these cops all the time and basically being harassed, and people are getting hurt, people are getting arrested. Turns out Bloomberg ordered them to go after black and brown kids, literally like Latino and black kids in these neighborhoods. And he said, that's where the crime's at. And it's like, okay, so here's what I tell these activists that are like, yes, red flag laws. I said, stop and frisk. Take a look at this report. An NYPD, I think it was an NYPD guy, said cops were being ordered specifically to target black kids. And then Bloomberg said, yeah, well, that's because it's their neighborhoods. It's like, well, there's one thing to say neighborhood. It's another thing to actually go after a race. So imagine what red flag laws are going to be. In New York City, when they pass red flag laws, dude, I've told these people, I said, I mark my words, you are going to hear a story about some family man who's black. The cops come to his house, bang on the door and say, someone reported you. Even if the dude doesn't even own a gun, just like stop and frisk, they're going to come in the house. Bad things are eventually going to happen. We should not allow the government rights to violate Fourth Amendment rights, because the challenge with stop and frisk, with red flag laws, is that people are ambushed. It's non-adversarial court. The government should, if the government wants to do something, they have to file. You get a chance to respond. It's due process. But we heard these stories about the cops walking up to someone's house and being like, you've been served a red flag order, give me your guns. And the guy's like, no. And then, so I think that we talked about this last week in Baltimore, dude died because he was like, what do you mean you're coming to take my guns? I have no idea what's going on. Oh, it's your sister. She said that you are a danger to yourself and others, so we're taking your weapons now.
Yeah.
Dude,
and there's been a number of incidences like this with states that have red flag laws, that have implemented them and have hurt a lot of innocent civilians implementing them. And just look at what we have to deal with swatting, with false reports of people calling in bullcrap to this specific location. Imagine what's going to happen with red flag laws. Imagine what's going to happen with neighbors who have disagreements with each other, partners, girlfriends, boyfriends that argue with each other.
Right.
They're going to abuse this system to call the police, to break down your door, to take away your ability to defend yourself. I mean, that's a new level of insanity that we have to push back against.
These talking points are literally something that I've never heard. I feel like this string of podcasts that I've been on should just be called the red pilling of Jamie Kilstein because I've never heard it. Like what you were saying first, Luke, and what you were just saying now about stop and frisk, which I was adamantly against, or the Patriot Act, which I was adamantly against. Those again, I would like to think I'm a pretty intelligent dude, and I saw zero connection until now with the school shooting being used to take away gun rights as the war, because I know I'm anti-war. So when the Patriot Act, right, like the left, you're anti-war. So the Patriot Act goes, and I go, well, I'm seeing that clearly, because I go, well, this is already something I'm against, and this is clearly taking away our rights. But because also with my side, it's like we're anti-gun. A school shooting happens, and you go, that is also a tragedy. That is a tragedy that destroys me emotionally, just like September 11th destroyed people emotionally. And then they try to take the guns. At no point would I have compared that to the Patriot Act after September 11th or after the war, because I'm just like, but it doesn't line up. But it is. It's the same thing.
This is the issue I see with the left so often is single layer issues.
Yeah.
Is that they'll say, we had this big major tragedy. Kids lost their lives. It's time to enact these gun laws. And I said, what's the equation there? How did you go from kids lost their lives to it's time to enact gun laws? How do those things connect? Why, in your mind, does one come after the other? Because I'm not convinced enacting gun laws has anything to do with the tragedy at the school. So we need background checks. Dude, pass the background check. What next? We need to raise the legal age. Okay, all right. Well, there's potentially something that they've stopped him when I'm old enough. Apparently, I suppose the issue there is legal adults have a right to keep and bear arms. Now you're butting up against, you're trying to pass laws that completely violate constitutional rights of legal adults because one person committed a crime. So look, I don't believe when there's a tragedy, the end result should be overhaul of our national system because of one incident, one human out of 300 million who committed a crime. It doesn't follow. Yeah. But most importantly, the stop and frisk thing right away with red flag laws. If the left
killed me, because you're right, because it's gonna affect communities of color. But
this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna sit here and be like, it's a fact that Bloomberg came out and was like, we told the cops to go after black kids.
Right.
And then I'm like, hey, I kind of think that's a really bad thing. What do you think's gonna happen when you now say go into their houses?
Right.
And for some reason, crickets from the left, they're like, no, we want this. I'm like, well, are you for or against these laws?
And this is why people need to consume different media that's not just their own niche, because I've never heard someone compare it like that. And I doubt they're tuning in right now and one of the 40,000.
But I will, real quick, just a shout out. There are many leftists who are pro-gun.
Oh, no, that I know. But I'm saying the people who right now are saying ban all the guns, ban all the guns.
Marx was pro-gun.
Yep.
Okay, listen. Under no pretext should arms and ammunition be surrendered. Any attempt to disarm the workers must be frustrated by force if necessary. I mean,
that's Marx.
That's Marx.
Not a big fan of the guy.
Come on.
I made a tweet. I said, under no pretext should the right to keep and bear arms be infringed. Because I wanted to combine the two. And I'm like, get mad at me, liberals. We got Marx and Jefferson.
The conversation that's worth having is the power creep of weapons and armor. So at some point we've talked about, like, technically constitutionally you have the right to any kind of weapon, even a nuclear bomb, but it's not necessarily ethical to give every citizen a nuclear bomb that they can drop on accident and set off. So
put up or shut up, conservatives.
Yeah, there are.
I said it. They got mad at me for it.
I know.
I'm not. No, so I basically said the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, whether you like it or not. The founding fathers didn't realize that would include nukes and biological weapons, because those are armaments. So I'm like, maybe we need to have an amendment in the Constitution to be like, okay, we don't mean that. Like that, because like you're saying, the power creep of these weapons.
Yeah, if Elon Musk were to arm his satellites, his Starlinks with like rods from God, like tungsten rods, and it's like, no, Elon, sorry.
That would be dope, though.
No, hold on. Halliburton, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, these companies.
It's like you were saying, the government gives them this monopoly on the corporations.
But Ian, information is the battle scene right now. So information could be more detrimental, especially when it comes to influencing culture, than nuclear weapons. I think we have to understand that's what's happening right now with a few multinational corporations that are tied in with the government. They are creating technology, and whether you call it fourth generational warfare or fifth generational warfare, we are seeing some extremely negative consequences to that.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.